Good morning. Hi, it's Stacy. We are loving my veteran, and this is walking in our shoes this morning. Have some coffee while I'm waiting for everything to spool up. Good morning. Um, Walking in my shoes this morning. We're going back to getting on board and talking about the things that are important. And today's topic is going to be determining our own priorities. That we have that right to do that. So let's just kind of give people a second, and we'll start getting into our discussions about what we're doing. Real quick, I just want to bring everybody up to speed on where we are. The website should be live, the new website should be live later this afternoon. It's been a labor of love, and we're hoping it's more fluid and something y'all will want. Newsletter went out yesterday. We have, as a group, decided that we'll probably send updates out more regularly through newsletters. So please subscribe. www.lovingmyveteran.com. You can subscribe there to get newsletters and the latest information. We do not want to instill a sense of panic by anybody at this point, but we do know that there are groups, pages, whatever, who are doing lives that they're getting taken off. Our plan is to continue to do Walking in My Shoes live on Facebook like we always do. But in the event that we can't or it doesn't, we will move that to our YouTube channel. There are over 20 videos already posted to our YouTube channel, with more coming daily. So if you've missed a video, it is on there as well. Just wanted to kind of give everybody that heads up a little bit and let you know what we're doing. Good morning, y'all. So, today we're going to talk about being able to determine our own priorities. And I think this is kind of a very relevant topic today more than any day. Also, often in our life, we allow other people to determine what is important to us, what our priorities should be, what we need to do. We don't have to listen to anybody else's priorities. We are the people that set our own priorities. We're the ones who determine what our priorities should be. They don't come from any other source other than us. You know, over the past few days, we've all been flooded with all kinds of news, and we need to do this, and this should be the priority, and that should be the priority, and are you guys watching this? Are you guys watching that? Are you listening to this? And what do you think of that? That becomes a distraction, and it stops us from really thinking about what our priorities are. You know, just because somebody's priority is getting guns or doing this or doing that, that doesn't mean it has to be ours. So you have to take time to determine what your priorities are. I have my own priorities. Carl has his own priorities. And together we have our family priorities. You know, this is what I do. I do Walking in My Shoes. I do Loving My Veteran. My priority right now is, outside of Carl and I, is to help maintain a sense of calm and to continue to offer support for people who need it, and for y'all to be able to support me in return. So that is my priority. It may not be on his agenda. Okay, it may not be something he wants to do right now. He has his own business and other stuff. I mean, Greg, he's a huge part of this, but he has his own stuff, and that's his priority. And then together we have ours. And I find that I have a hard time balancing my priorities from our family's priorities. What my priority is to what the family needs. Years and years and years and years and years ago, probably my whole life, I was lost. My personal priorities became everybody else's priority. Everybody else's priority took place. And then I found myself sitting here in very dark places throughout the course of my life saying, what about me? What about Stacy? What about me? I need this today, and I need that, and I need some downtime, or I need a bath, or I need a this, or I need to go for a walk, or I need, whatever I needed, just emotional support, or I want time to read, or I want time to do. And I found myself putting that off for everybody else's priority. Everybody else's priority became mine. And when you do that, you get lost in who you are. I'm not saying become self-centered. I'm not saying that you have to not do for others. But I'm saying we have a right to determine what our priorities are. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't include other people's priorities in our priority. What that means is we are the ones who determine what is important to us and what we need to do for us first, or what we need to do first. We determine that priority. So when we go back and we say, well, I had to do this for you, and I had to do that for you, and I had to do this for the kids, and I had to do this for work, and I had to make sure that the house was clean, and I had to do this, and I had to do that. Don't throw daggers at me when I say this right now, but that's on you. And it was on me for a very long time, because I let other people's priorities determine my priority. I let other people's priorities determine my priority. Early on, I heard this. My dad used to say it to me a lot, and I didn't understand it. I do now way more than I did. Your failure to plan does not constitute an emergency on my part. And I think that we see that happen so often because somebody doesn't get something done, or because this isn't done or that isn't done. What do? They run to you and they're like, hey, can you do this for me? I got to have this done. I have to have it done right this minute. We have to have it, whether it's your boss, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your kid. My kids were famous for 9 o'clock at night coming to me and saying, Mom, I got a project due tomorrow and I need this, this, and this. Well, we live 20 miles from town. Okay, the fact that you need a poster board and all this other stuff, where was I going at 9 o'clock at night to go get poster board and all this other stuff so I could bring it home so you could do a project that you're going to be asleep when I get home and I'm going to do your project for you? Your failure to plan is not my priority. That's where we have to learn. We have to learn that we're the one who chooses which priorities are ours. It's hard because we are pleasers. That's what we do. But people have to have their own priorities, and people have to be accountable for them. And I'll give you an example. This happened last night in our house. I have been really big about working on moving the platforms we have here to our website, in case, not saying it's going to, but in case something happens like the Parler thing or whatever, we have to be able to continue to be together as a community and support each other. So I have spent a lot of time, me and our team, moving things over, talking about a plan on how we're going to move things over. What are we going to do as we move things over? Well, next thing I know, it's 10 o'clock at night last night. And earlier in the day, Carl had said to me, hey, baby, look, I've got this great movie we can watch, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. We'll watch it together tonight. And he finally looks at me and says, it's 10 o'clock. And I'm like, oh. Well, my priority had been moving the platform. I was really into it. I was on a roll. My thought process was working. I was jotting down notes to type blogs. I was doing all kinds of stuff. I was in my groove. Actually, first time he said to me, hey, it's 9:30. And then finally he looked at me and said, you realize it's 10 o'clock. And that was the key, the little trigger. Right. Because Richard's medical is a major priority, but she still has her list of priorities that come first. You have to, or you will fall apart. Okay, but when he told me 10 o'clock, that was the trigger. Stacy, remember, you and Carl together as a family have priorities, and you need to make it happen. So I had to learn that while I thought this was my priority, we needed to be my priority at that time. And so that's a tough act to follow. You know, I go back and I look at, when she's talking about her Richard his medical is a major priority. He depends on her for almost everything. But if she doesn't find her own priorities to put herself first in this list, somewhere in here, she's going to get so burned out that she's not going to be good for anybody. And that's what we do. So when we get to this point that we're down, and we all get there, this is not, look, I get there a lot. I have cried and cried. Can my priority be to keep peace in the home? Yes, it can. But your priority to get peace in the home, that's too broad of a topic. Kind of, you have to narrow it down. If peace in the home is important to you, then narrow that down into what you're talking about, into smaller things. And you know what? If what you're doing and the people in your home are not buying into it, then you go find your own peace in your home. Mine used to be the bathroom and the bathtub. I used to go in there, put the headphones in, didn't care if the house was on fire because I was sitting in a tub of water. So if the house caught on fire, I would not burn to death, and I would make that my moment of peace. Yes, finding peace in your home can be a priority, but you may not be able to do it the way you think. So it is important that you figure out your priorities. You also need to communicate those priorities with your spouse or your partner. Remember, y'all, our veterans do better when we have a schedule. Our veterans do better when they know what's coming up. So, again, y'all, I have a little whiteboard, and I write everything on my whiteboard with what's coming up. Like, I have this to do, and I have that to do, and I have so much going on, or I think I do. But I write it on this board, and my priorities are written on this board so that Carl can see them. If I forget to tell him, he can see them. And he's like, oh, she's got this to do. And then you know what happens? It becomes him telling me, hey, honey, don't forget you have this coming up in an hour. Don't forget you have that coming up in an hour. I'll get busy and I'll forget to eat. And Carl will look at me and say, hon, you need to stop and you need to eat. Because with what I have going on, food is important, and eating on a semi-regular basis is important. So he will do that. But that's about priorities. And he has to have his own, I have to have my own, and together we have to have ours. And you have a right to have your own priorities. Let me say this again. Everybody say this loud together. I have a right to have my own priorities. That is important that you realize that is your right. Your right is not to deal with everybody else's priorities. The whiteboard is a list of chores, Sonny's do list. I hear you, sister. Your priority, Sonny, your priority is not to deal with other people's lack of planning that has created an emergency on their part. If you choose to do that, that's good. But it is not your priority. Your priorities, our priorities, my priority is in my realm. Carl's priorities are in his realm. We have our priorities together. And sometimes it requires me helping him do his priorities, and that's fine. And sometimes it's him helping me do mine, and that's fine. And that's not being selfish. That's not being greedy. That is self-preservation. And learning that we have these rights. These rights are about self-preservation. These rights are about that. That's what we do. Y'all, my phone blew up yesterday. My messenger blew up yesterday. My email blew up yesterday from everybody and their brother giving me some spin or feed on what's going on in the world and potential martial law and the Russians off the coast and the Chinese, wherever they may be. And it distracted me from my priorities. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, stop. You know what? You have priorities. You have priorities. Put the phone on silent, did my thing. Because I allowed that turmoil to take away from my priorities and I wasn't getting anything done. So you have to also, you have the right to get rid of the distractions so you can focus on your priorities. You have the right to get rid of the distractions, the static, the gray noise, whatever you want to call it, to focus on your priorities. We have that right. By the way, when you have a priority list, it doesn't mean what your priority is should be at the bottom of your to-do list. Your priorities are that priority. They take precedence, and we have a right to have them. It is important that we have our own. It is important that you learn how to utilize them. I'm not saying be self-centered. I'm saying what is important to you. Peace in your home. If peace in your home is important to you, then that becomes your priority. Okay? I love that. My priority is to put scrunch in the sand when I become overwhelmed. We do that. I love it. If you want peace in the home, that's your priority. If that's what you need, and you can't get it by the other people in your house, go somewhere in your home and make it your priority. I needed time to write. I needed time to journal. I needed time to read. I needed time to get in the Word. Those were my priorities. That was my realm of priority. Well, I found that I couldn't do it with Carla and all the stuff going on that we have in our life. I couldn't do that. So my time to make myself my priority is I get up somewhere between 4 and 5 in the morning, usually. And I find that time for me. Now people are like, well, am I getting up at 4 or 5? Because I needed that time and I made it my priority to find the time to get it done. Okay, that is my priority. So sometimes when you have a priority and you have to make yourself that priority, you have to make changes in your life that will allow that to happen. So I get up, I spend my time doing what I need to do, and no offense to all of my to my loving my veteran family and my personal family, there's no offense made by that. That's my time. That's my time. Me and my bestest friend in the whole world, who's 2 hours behind me, somewhere between 6:30 and 7 my time, so God knows what time it is, her time, that she makes time for us. That is our priority time. That's what we do. That's where we talk. That's our time. Uninterrupted conversation, coffee, our time. That's what we do. And you've got to learn to do that. You have to learn, or you will not have self-preservation. We all get overwhelmed. We all have so much static in our life. We all feel like raising our hands, screaming, what about me? When do I fit in? Because we become invisible. When everybody else's priorities take precedence over us, we become invisible. We don't know who we are. We don't know what we stand for. We don't know, we can't determine our own self-worth because we feel worthless because we don't matter. That's the way this works. So you see this spiral that starts to happen. When you don't learn, it is not selfish. When you don't learn to put yourself first and take a hold of all these rights that we've been talking about, the right to ask for what you want, the right to say no when you absolutely need to, the right to change your mind, okay? Yeah, and Stephanie's right. When we do all this and we take on all this stuff and we don't make ourselves priority and we get overwhelmed and we get frustrated and we get pissy, is our words, and we do, and we feel invisible, we are miserable, And we take that attitude and we try to make our veterans do something positive. We try to make our home life something positive, and we don't understand why it's not working because we have become ill, irritable, frustrated, depressed, angry, overwhelmed. And the only way to fix that, I know y'all not gonna like me again, I'm just gonna spit it out there because y'all know I have no filter. You can't blame your veteran for this. You have to blame you for this and take accountability for this. You have to put yourself first. You absolutely have to put yourself first. When you learn to take care of yourself and make yourself a priority, the rest of it will start to fall into place. We hear, and I know it has something to do with PTSD, and I know it is them being angry, and I know sometimes they're just pissy too. All too often, we hear, and Stephanie just put on here, you're the only person responsible for your happiness. And that is true. You are the only one accountable for your life. Nobody loves you as much as you do. Nobody on this earth loves you as much as you do. So if you are feeling loveless and you are feeling this, the only person who can change that is you, because you got to love yourself. And I know this is hard to hear sometimes when we talk about it, but it is eye-opening. I lived in a 28-year depressed marriage that I hated every day. There were days that when my eyes opened, I was like, why, God, why did you leave me here? I don't want to deal with this day. But you know what? I didn't like me. I didn't make myself a priority. I made my job a priority. I made my husband a priority. I made all these things a priority other than me, or one of my feelings, or my sense of self-preservation. Y'all know, I even got so wrapped up in the church, I made the church a priority before me. Now, I know that sounds like, oh, well, God should come first. Okay, well, great, except for when the fact you're doing it for the church and not doing it for God. So you've got to make yourself this priority. And we talk about our veterans being in a mood and our veterans spewing out bad things to us and our veterans doing this. Yes, they do. When they're in a moment, yes, they do spew it out. But you know what? When you feel like you deserve it, when you feel that you are that worthless, when you lower yourself to that level, you don't demand the respect that you deserve by your own actions and your own behaviors and your own input, and you've got to start doing that. When you become worthy in your mind, the people who you deal with, the people who you work with, the people in your life, and your own spouse are gonna see that you become worthy and you have value, and they're gonna stop. But the person who can do that is you. Because if you don't feel worthy, and you don't feel like you matter, and you don't feel important, and you don't feel like you're a priority, you're not going to set boundaries that are required to go anything else. Yeah, don't make anything a priority that only makes you an option. We're not an option, we're a priority. Get it through your head. You matter. You are important. And when you start taking ownership of that, you can now set your boundaries. But you've got to take ownership that you matter most to you. I love Carl with every inch of my being. But you know what? I find us getting in more arguments, in more turmoil on the days that I make him a priority. Not saying be selfish, but on the days that I try to make him a priority and feel like lesser of a person, we get in more arguments than any other time. When I have my priority being me, and he has his priority being him, and then together our priority is us, guess what? Our world is better. But you can't do that if you don't make yourself of value. You've got to do that. If you don't make value of yourself and create value, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. You know, think about going to the antique stores. This is going to sound strange. Okay, it is, but whatever. You go to the antique store, right? And so you're here at the antique store, and you're going through this stuff at the antique store, and you realize that you look at something and it is incredibly valuable, right? You know why it's valuable? Because it's rare. Do you know why it's rare? Because somebody preserved it. Because somebody else had the same thing in their house at one point and they threw it out like it was trash. Okay? But when this lamp or this doll or this book or this whatever was important to that particular family and they took care of it and they preserved it and it's gone on and there's only like 15 in the world or whatever and the value goes up, promise you there wasn't only 15 made, there was probably thousands made. But of the 1,000 that were made, 985 got thrown out with the trash because people didn't perceive them as having value, and the 15 that were left in the world, somebody perceived it as having value and they protected it. So if you don't perceive yourself as having value, you become no different than the trash. And that's what we're doing. Losing yourself is the hardest thing to find again, but it can be done. You have to do that. You have to make yourself a priority. When you do, you will find yourself. When you find out what makes you happy, when you find out what you need. And I'm not telling you, people get in this, oh, well, shopping would make me happy and a new car would make me happy. Well, it might be. It might be your thing. It might be your thing. Okay? But sucking on a piece of dark chocolate when there's nobody around to annoy me and talk to me and come into my head, girl, that makes me happier than I can stand. And it makes me find myself. I had to find myself. You know, when I stopped being a paramedic, that was hard. I had to find who I was. Even though I was in a horrible marriage that was such a narcissist marriage for 28 years, when I left that marriage, I had to find myself. I still do. Carl will look at me and say, I'm not your ex-husband, because I will step back into that place where I feel, and now I know what he meant. I step back into that place when I feel like I have no self-worth. And when I do that, he looks at me and says, I am not your ex-husband. Why does he say that? Because at that moment, I feel like I have no worth other than to serve him. And that's crazy. And he keeps saying, I fell in love with you for the strong woman that you are. And there are days that I feel so weak. But when I become that strong woman is the days that I put myself first and I have priorities. It doesn't make me selfish. I do my things, stay strong, stay focused, and then we do our things because he's that way. Priorities. And we have a right to choose them. And it is necessary for us to choose our own priorities and learn to live with our priorities. It is okay. Somebody else's failure to plan does not constitute your emergency. When you don't put yourself first, other people perceive you as not worthy. So all these things we want, the better relationship, our spouse to respect us, our kids to respect us, our boss to respect us. If we don't respect ourselves and make us a priority, nobody, I love that, will respect us. Pam put on here, the best advice my vet ever gave my daughter is take yourself off the clearance rack. Ladies, let's take ourselves off the clearance rack today. We are designer. We are name brand. We are worthy, and we are one of a kind. So imagine the value of something when there's only 500 of them made. Well, there's only one me. Thank God. There's only one me. But guess what that just does to my value? Girl, I'm going to post that right up on the page. Take yourself off the clearance rack. I love that. We are not on the clearance rack. We are not the bargain basement. We are not the only person they chose because, well, you know, they were lonely and they were sad and I don't have much value. So they kind of picked me and that's where we are. Nope. You matter. You're strong. You're amazing. And you're the most important person in your life, which makes you important in other people's lives. That's where we go. So ladies, take yourself off the clearance rack. Pam, I'm going to use that forever. That's my greatest thing ever. Take yourself off the clearance rack. Make yourself a priority. Start living like you are important. Find what matters to you and make it happen because you're the only one who can. You're the only one who determines your self-worth. That's it. You're it. You're the only one who can determine that. Two things. I'm going to leave it at this. Thank y'all for being this incredibly strong community that I love and I adore and are truly my rock and my strength when I am at the very weakest. Y'all amaze me every day. And you just don't realize how much you mean to us and to me personally. So that is my first thing. Again, I'm just going to put this out here. Don't buy in to the turmoil that's going on in this world. Take care of you, your home, your family. Don't get caught up and lost in all the stuff. I'm trying very hard not to panic. I just want you to know this, that we are working on a way to move the platform should we need to. It is not anything except for being proactive. So please understand that. So the new website, I will send out a little thing as soon as it's done. And I want some feedback, opinions. This is y'all's website, not mine. It's y'all's. It's what makes us grow. There is a group on that website that has kind of been dormant that will become very active again. And we want that there. So if something happens and you can't be here, we can go there and communicate and continue exactly where we are. The videos are being posted about 4 a day, I think, to YouTube. So they're all on there. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel because there'll be videos on there that are not on Facebook as well. So please subscribe to that. We are not going to do the book club today just because of timing. We will resume the book club, give everybody a chance to get your books together. Next Tuesday, 10 a.m., we're going to do chapters 1 and 2 of Perfect Mess by Lisa Harper. It is amazing, and right now it is the number one thing we kind of need to do. So just make sure we do that. We have so much coming up as usual. We have our Vet Connect will air this Friday. We have Stephanie doing Wellness Wednesday. I will put the link on today. Elisa is doing midweek break. Wednesdays at 3:30 or 3 o'clock Eastern time. All of our time zones aren't Eastern just because I don't do math well. Let's Talk is obviously on Thursdays. That link is out there. Please come join us. With or without your veteran, we have a great time and a lot of insight and just a way to have a conversation. So that's out there as well. I think that's all we have going on for right now. There's always more. Coffee in collaboration with Behind the Service podcast will be on Wednesdays, and I'll make sure that link is out there as well. Boone Cutler's new book. It is everywhere. I've put it out everywhere, and he has graciously allowed me to share it. He calls it a survival guide for warriors and for warfighters, and I think that's amazing. I like his term warfighters because I don't think our guys ever stop fighting their war. It is an amazing book. It gives his journey, and little blurbs are probably a minute and a half read in his little journey through the blurbs, and then what he faced. He called it a combat cocktail and zombie dope that kept him to the state of depression and suicide and taking his own life. And he gives alternatives for what he found works and other stuff that you can research on your own. So it is an amazing book. It's available on Amazon, $9.99. It is worth every dime. Every dime. It gives you great perspective. It gives your veteran perspective. It's just about living life and making choices that are positive and in the right way. So please, there's more that it's on the website. It is in our Facebook as well. Please reach out to that as well. We need to welcome Dale Thomas too to our team. He's on our Facebook page. He is a veteran, and he does therapy and counseling, and he's been posting some great inspirational stuff. Don't forget that suicide rates are also up. 22 a day of our veterans are taking their own lives, and those numbers are sure to go up. And we have spouse problems as well that battle depression and anger, anxiety, and suicide as well. So if you feel like you're in that place, please reach out and get some help because you matter to all of us. And I think I've done rattled on long enough. Make yourself a priority today. Have a great day. I'm Stacy. This has been Walking in My Shoes, and we are loving my veteran. Bye.